Well, guys, we saw another week of action. Lots and lots and lots to jump into. I don't want to waste any time this week. This is our week 6 preview. We're going to talk about all the week 5 action. So let's go to the first game. 49ers were able to upset the Rams 26-23. A little surprising, guys. This one, Josh, I just said this to Caleb before we started. Puka Nacua has 50 receptions. 50? How is that only a franchise record? It seems like it should be an absolute NFL record. 50 receptions already. I mean, there's guys that don't get that all year long. What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, his lowest game right now, I believe, is 8, and then 10, 10, 11, 13. So clearly on a crazy pace there. And then you look at the receiver play under Matthew Stafford historically. You have the most yardage in a season from Calvin Johnson, the second most yardage in a season from Cooper Kupp, and the projected top 3 season from Puka Nacua. So there's a potential there for Matthew Stafford to have 3 of his receivers in the top 3 yardage totals of all time.
Unbelievable. And Caleb, unfortunately, even though Puka Nacua thrived, he had 10 catches, 12 targets, 76 yards, and a score. Special teams faltered for him. They missed a field goal, blocked extra point, costing them an overtime.
Yeah, it was a close game. We kind of knew it would be this divisional game. Not Brock Purdy. I confused them because they play so similar. Mac Jones, you could say gritty. He had like 4 different injuries. His knee brace was cutting his calf open the whole game. He had like a spleen injury or something at the end where he's gagging on the sideline. He toughed it out, got the win. Great game for Mac Jones. Gutsy, you could say. But I want to toot not my horn, but the guy I like's horn a little bit, Nate Landman. I know that the Rams lost, but he's been their best defender this year. He's led their team in tackles, pass defense, and he has a forced fumble and 2 fumble recoveries this season. He had 14 tackles in this game, played 90 snaps. He was everywhere. He's a monster linebacker. So watching Rams going forward, look for Nate Landman still. He's fun to watch. Just a little glimmer of I saw during that game, something fun.
Yeah. And you mentioned Brock Purdy. Obviously, Mac Jones starting this game. He's played 3 games for them now this season. But you look at their quarterbacks who have been their projected starters, other than Trey Lance, because I believe he got hurt in his second game, and obviously didn't finish that one. But through Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and Mac Jones' first 3 starts on the team, they're all 3-0. So they've all had the same level of success. Every guy that they've named has just immediately come in and won. You know, obviously a divisional game against the Rams where people expect the 49ers to lose, with Bourne coming from the Patriots with Mac Jones to be the number 1 in this game, with backups on the other side of the ball as well with Nick Bosa. They're able to pull it together and get a win despite all of that.
Yeah, go ahead, Caleb.
You have another point. It shows how strong, whether you like him or not, Kyle Shanahan's system is.
Right.
Offensively and defensively, Salah. Their system is plug and play, literally. Whether it's Kendrick Bourne or Brandon Ayuk, Purdy or Jones, it doesn't matter. They're going to produce the same numbers, same stats, no matter who's in there. So it's just good coaching. That's the only reason that they stay alive so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is a division game, of course, so it's always tough when you're rivals. Nobody wore the rival uniforms this time, but I guess we'll get to those ugly uniforms later. That was New England's turn. Hey, across the pond here, across the Atlantic, 21-17. If you're a Vikings fan, which my gosh, Jordan Addison seemed to be the highlight of this game with a couple of straight grabs at the end, capping off a 12-yard touchdown, and wow, the Vikings pulled it off. Caleb, let's talk about the rookie quarterback that got put in for the Browns. No mistakes, played a mistake-free game, and it's a shame, 17 points, and he wasn't able to get the win.
Yeah, he had 190 yards. Dylan Gabriel, we're talking about, rookie. Not Shador Sanders. 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 19-33, no picks, like you said, no mistakes. Played conservative. They ran the football a lot, I believe over 20 times with their rookie, Judkins, who looks great, by the way, running over 5 yards a carry, explosive. It doesn't matter who you are playing the Browns. They're going to control the game. They're going to control the time of possession, as we saw them with the Packers, as we saw them with the Lions. I know they lost. As we saw them this game with Minnesota. Everything's been a one-possession game. It's been close until the end of that Detroit game. But the Browns are scary. They just traded away Joe Flacco, so they're confident in Dylan Gabriel. Passing attack's obviously not great, but Gabriel and Njoku seem to have some chemistry. So for fantasy, there's some glimmer of hope there. I keep glimmer, so I'm getting out of my vocabulary today. But Judkins looked fantastic. And their defense is still rock solid. So what do you got to add, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, with Dillon Gabriel coming in, we saw David Njoku finally have his first big game of the season. He had 6 catches, about 70 yards, and a touchdown. And then you saw second behind that was Isaiah Bond, the free agent pickup, who would have been a day two pick, early day two pick in the draft. But of course, the off field stuff, the accusations held him out. But they picked him up right before the season, and he has an immediate role as their number 2 receiver behind Jerry Jeudy right now. But the last 2 games, he's kind of been over Jeudy as far as target share and just his importance to this offense. He only had 29 yards, that being the second highest for the team. But like you said, Dillon Gabriel comes in mistake-free. They're relying upon him now. Does the Joe Flacco trade mean that we're going to see Deshaun Watson on this team at some point again? Who knows? It doesn't really matter for the outcome of this season. They know what this season means, and putting all the young guys at the top, Bond, Gabriel, Judkins, as you mentioned, Fannin as well. Those guys are going to get their run, and they're going to rebuild next year with those 2 firsts that they have.
Absolutely.
I have one more thing about Addison. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate too much. If he was, they've been in Europe for 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks. I don't know if he was out doing some silly things, but they disciplined him this game. He didn't play until the fourth quarter. So that first time that he was on the field is when he went on that tear and won the game for him. So interesting to see. He's a great receiver, so he definitely won the game for him.
Yeah. So talking about highlights, let's talk about a low light. The Baltimore defense collapsed, allowing 5 touchdowns to a Texan offense that had just 6 the entire season prior to this game. Texans win 44-10. Embarrassing, guys. Embarrassing. Baltimore drops to 4-11 all time without Lamar. That's big numbers, Josh. Yeah. That's a quarterback that needs to be out there.
Yeah. Do you know who's still favored to win that division at this moment?
They are.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
1 win, but that'll change, of course, at some point. Yeah. That's with the assumption of Lamar coming back and them just winning like they always do, right? It doesn't make much sense, but they sit among the bottom, of course, of the division. And you mentioned their defense. A couple of different sources, I think CBS brought up the attention of the 2000 season of the Baltimore Ravens having and allowing less points than the Ravens have allowed through 5 games. So obviously they're letting up a ton of scores. They're allowing a quarterback 1 every single week. You had C.J. Stroud. You probably didn't want to start him, but the matchup was green, and so you started him, and you got rewarded with a 40-point performance there. But it's just, you can start whoever you want against this defense at this moment. They just picked up C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so whatever that means for them at this point in time, they're hoping to improve there, but it's just it's not going to be enough, obviously, with them allowing that many points.
Caleb,
177 points.
Yeah, you mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson. The Ravens picked them up, and they also traded for Alohi Gilman from the Chargers, strong safety. So they need safeties. They're both not both down, but I think Nate Wiggins is out their nickel corner with an elbow injury. And like we said last week, their whole defense is banged up, so it's not great. But I would like to touch on the Texans a little bit. Last week I said Woody Marks would have a great game because he had 20-plus touches the week before. Turns out they leaned on Nick Chubb. This is a true committee, hot hand situation that we're watching. And they benched Woody Marks in the 4th when they benched their starters. So he did not do anything for fantasy. One of the biggest letdowns for sports betting and for just fantasy in general. He was the most added player last week. So I fell for the bait as well. You're not the only one if you did it too.
Yeah. No doubt. I think, guys, a key is that Stroud has not been maybe as dominant as he had. He dominated this game, 85% completion, 23 of 27, 244 yards, 0 interceptions. That's super important when you're trying to win a football game. A couple scores we want to jump on. These are, no surprise here. Carolina Panthers were able to beat the Miami Dolphins 27-24. I say no surprise because we've watched Miami self-destruct all season, even with Darren Waller. The Colts absolutely rolled. Maybe a little surprise here. Absolutely rolled over now suddenly the very much struggling Las Vegas Raiders, Josh. Are you surprised to see a 40-6 score in that game?
It's surprising because I don't think Daniel Jones ever had a 40-point performance with the Giants, and now he's had several with the Colts. But Geno Smith isn't playing his best, and obviously he's not a top end quarterback, but you expect him to not have multiple turnovers in multiple games continuously there. But there wasn't much going for them offensively. I mean, Genti had early had the opportunity to break off a couple of big plays, but you never really heard from him in the second half. And then the Colts obviously turn around and they just dominate defensively, and then they dominate the ground game once again, scoring 4 rushing touchdowns in this game. It's just overall dominant performance, and it's great to see the Colts. You should be worried for the Raiders, but it's great to see them take care of a team like the Raiders, who has their struggles, and not keep it close. So, what was it, a 34-point difference there for them?
Unbelievable. Caleb?
Yeah, we saw Geno self-destruct, as we talked about, with no tight end in. Albert O looked great, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Oguwebunam. He's been around pretty much every team now. But, their offense is very stale. It's bad. Geno's making a lot of mistakes. It's just not... It makes you wonder how long they're going to stick with him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's had a little magic in Seattle, and he's got his old coach back, and it seems to be running out. Let's talk about a game that I was surprised by. The New Orleans Saints forced turnovers on 5 straight Giant possessions, including an 86-yard fumble return touchdown, ending an 8-game skid that they've been on. Hey, Jackson Dart started off by finding the end zone a couple of times, and then all of a sudden fell apart. Caleb, I know you're not surprised. You don't have a heart for Dart. 26-14, New Orleans rolls over the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't like Dart. I think he just needs to sit a little bit. Obviously, Tim, I think all 4 of us would agree that quarterbacks should sit for a while. So I'm not using this as a measuring stick for anything that Dart's capable of. I'm just kind of coasting with it. I don't expect him to do anything. His offense looks fine with Scadaboo, with his favorite target, Theo Johnson, who had 2 touchdowns in this game. The Giants, it's hopeful. It's not something that's it's encouraging. It's not something that you can bet on, I guess. But the Saints, Spencer Rattler got his first win with the Saints, first win in the NFL. Played well, has been playing well. Chris Olave is top 5 in targets in the league, so he's getting a ton of targets.
Also true.
Yeah, that's all I got to add about this one.
Josh, before you break this down, I want to ask you this. They have 2 quarterbacks sitting on the bench in Jameis Winston and, of course, Big Russ. Do they have absolutely no value?
Of course they have value.
I mean, as a football player, obviously as a human being, we love all these guys. I'm saying nobody's talking about them. No one's trading for them. There's teams that need quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, it's worth mentioning that Joe Flacco was traded in the division to the Bengals, which, Zach Taylor confirmed with us that they're so confident in Jake Browning that they're just going to go ahead and trade for Joe Flacco, right? And the trade compensation there, I believe, was a pick swap. So Flacco and a 6th for a 5th, whatever it was. It was something among the lines of that. But yeah, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson would be more valuable than that. And then obviously it depends on what state of the season that you're in. We're still early, of course. The Bengals have wins at this point in time. If they can put Joe Flacco in and sustain basically the whole season, then hopefully they can get Joe Burrow for the playoffs. But it's worth the move for them considering how the Ravens are playing right now.
Caleb, you had a point.
Yeah, about Joe Flacco and the Bengals. I think that it's a risky move. They cut Mike White, the Bengals, their backup quarterback, who I think is a solid backup. We saw him start for the Jets in that season that Zach Wilson went down. I think he's a solid backup. Joe Flacco is at the age, he's 42, 41. He's up there. He's getting the contract he had with the Browns, correct? They're just transferring it over. Like they took out the contract.
That's a trade. So he's under contract.
So I'm assuming. So he can technically. He's playing on the worst O-line in the league right now. On the Bengals, he could decide to walk away whenever he wants.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm just not confident. Obviously, on paper, Joe Flacco with those weapons is terrifying. We saw him his first year with the Browns, and he lit it up. Took him to the playoffs. I was really high on Joe Flacco then, but now with this O-line, no run game presence at all. Chase Brown is the worst graded running back in the league.
Right.
It's very predictable. They're going to pressure him every game. He's not a mobile quarterback. It feels like the same old for them, and it's just a wasted move, in my opinion.
Josh, we bombarded you with quarterback stuff, but we were going to talk about the Giants. We got you sidetracked.
All right.
No, it's my fault.
I still, with the Giants and Jackson Dart, I wanted to talk about his first game. Yeah. They beat the Chargers, of course. We know the Chargers are in some sort of slump now. We'll talk about that game, but everyone knows how it ended. But Jackson Dart, he had 100-some yards passing his first game. He has 202 in this game with 40 attempts, throwing 65% completion. And he had 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. The 2 picks were just not great. I mean, you could see it coming from a mile long, or at least Kool-Aid McKinstry could. It's brutal. I reference John Gruden when I don't know what it's called anymore, but his QB class thing that he does, Gruden Grinders, whatever it is at this point. He's talking to Jackson Dart, and he's talking about how he runs around like Evel Knievel, and how he has no sense of care or whatever about his body, and he just runs around and does his thing, and whatever happens, right? And that's been him the last 2 games, is he's just standing there, not really caring, and he'll take off whenever. He had 7 rush attempts for 55 yards in this game. He had the rushing touchdown last week. You saw him running around. I just want to see sound quarterback play, and so the importance of the 2 quarterbacks you mentioned, Winston and Wilson, is very important to this team, because right now he got hit in the head last week. He has a hamstring injury right now. We need him to stop running around for the sake of the team and for his health, if they're going to truly move on from one of those guys or both of those guys.
Sure.
So it's a big problem, and they need those guys for sure, because if at this pace, he's going to be out for some point in the season.
All right, let's break down a couple games we have to stop on before we fly through a couple more. Dallas Cowboys, guys, defense dominated with 5 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 fourth down stops. They did allow 16 points in garbage time, but let's be honest, it's garbage time. Something clicked in the Dallas defense. They were able to beat the New York Jets 37-22. And again, 16 of those points came in the middle of trash. Yeah, Caleb.
That's just a point to add for fantasy and just for Cowboys fans in general. Ryan Flournoy, the product receiver we've had for a couple years, 6'9", 124 total yards. It's anomalous. He's not going to do this again. So everyone pump the brake. He's the 3rd most added player in fantasy right now across fantasy apps. Just pump the brakes. That's all I got to say.
It's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Justin Fields in this game, if his scrimmage yards totals through his 3 starts this year, and his touchdown interceptions is 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So he's not the problem on this team. Like, you can't just point to Justin Fields and be like, the offense stinks, look at this guy. He hasn't turned over the football. He's not been a problem. Breece Hall had 8 yards a carry, 113 rushing yards. They're doing solid things on offense, at least at a good level comparatively to their previous years, outside of last year with the 2 receivers. But yeah, once again, you're seeing Garrett Wilson step up. He has a high target share. He had 71 yards in this game. He's a top 10 receiver so far this season. But once again, we talked about Justin Fields playing against a team that scores over 20 points. He's lost every single one of those games. I think he's 0-26 now with this loss against the Cowboys.
Yeah, anything you wanted to add, Kev, about the game outside of our anomaly of a wide
last
receiver?
week we said that those weapons on the Jets will have big games. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, like Josh was saying, didn't help them much in the scoring category. I would like to add about Justin Fields. He was the same guy on the Steelers. He was a very sound quarterback, didn't turn over the ball, played safe, played efficient, just not enough to win these games. And he's, I believe, unwinning. I hate to say that. He never won a game where he's down 21 or more.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's
Can't
pretty
come
easy
back.
to see how this was going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. Dallas is slowly starting to assert themselves a little better on defense despite the injuries. Had a ton of injuries on offense. Most of our offensive line is still out. Not sure still why people don't want to talk about that. I did hear Adam Schefter talk about it finally, that Dallas gluing it together. Our offense has been productive, and our defense finally did. So again, those 16 points are kind of an anomaly in themselves because they were trash time. But all right, let's move to a division rival. The Denver Broncos were able to actually kind of have their way against the Philadelphia Eagles, 21-17. Guys, this offense, again, Philly's offense iced up post-halftime, 4 straight drives that Denver rallied on, and they couldn't. Devonta Smith, of course, topped 100 yards again, but that makes his guy on the other side a little angry, don't you think, Caleb?
I don't think angry. I think they're happy. I believe Devonta had 11 targets. This is off the top of my head. I apologize. Devonta had 11 targets, and A.J. Brown had 8. And one had 70 yards, or 45. I don't know.
Yeah,
one had 100,
and
43,
yeah.
and the other had 100. Yeah, 101. Yeah. But obviously they threw the ball a lot. Saquon, outside of his 50-yard receiving touchdown, did nothing on the ground. So it seems like there's two different Eagles. I don't know. There's the air attack Eagles like this that can only throw, and then there's the team that can only run. They've never done it both in one game successfully yet. So I don't know how I feel about them. I'm not just going to crap on the Eagles. I think that everybody but Dave picked the Broncos in this game just because of this reason. The Broncos, we watched them in primetime the week prior, have their way with the Bengals. So it's just the Eagles. It's flip a coin for me. I don't know who they are still. They haven't shown me anything. Get Barkley going, be consistent in the passing game. Jalen Hurts is not consistent quarterback. I just don't understand what's happening still.
Yeah, Sutton was able to have 99 yards, 8 catches in this game. J.K. Dobbins was able to have 4 yards a carry, 80 yards rushing, and a touchdown. Bo Nix was able to have his way. He had 3 rushes for 22 yards. Only 1 passing touchdown, but they came from behind, I think it was 14 points in that fourth quarter. They went for 2 to ensure that they would win the game on the previous drive so that the Eagles would have to go back and score more than a field goal. And so that obviously was the case, that Hail Mary to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with a bunch of Broncos running around them. But you just saw a flat Eagles team, and we've seen this, like Caleb said, throughout the whole year. For some reason, they can't pass and run at the same time. Saquon, he had 5 yards a carry for 30 yards, so 6 rush attempts, but they weren't running with Hurts. They weren't running with Barkley. They had that one pass to Saquon where he scored. But beyond that, there's nothing really to talk about for them offensively, defensively, nothing. It was not a showcase game for them on any side of the ball.
I think Philly, listen, they don't lose a whole lot. They haven't lost a lot in the last couple of years. So kudos to them. They're the first team I can think of that I've ever seen in my life that don't seem to play good football. You watch them play, they don't play good football, but they win. And winning's all that really matters. But if I look at these stat lines and think that Jalen's throwing the ball as little as he is, and they're running the ball with Saquon Barkley as little as they do, I'm kind of shocked by it, to be honest. And I would have expected them to have more games like this where they lose, but they just don't. That said, another offense coordinator moved on last year, so you got to change, and they're adjusting. It is what it is.
The thing with that is Kevin, their OC, has been there for 4 years now.
Yeah, but he's calling the plays
for 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
He was their passing game assistant last year with Kellen Moore.
I'm just trying to rationalize why in the world this team would be the way they. And here's what gets me. I think I say this all the time. Like, team chemistry does matter. If you ask any successful player, coach, GM, and there's clearly some low key compliance with everybody on this team. Some bickering, the stuff that the Brown posts. So listen. They win, and that's why I'm going to keep not rooting for them. I'm going to keep picking them every week. And honestly, guys, a little spoiler alert. I mean, they're playing the Giants this week, and I think Saquon's just going to run all over those guys. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, yeah. But they'll recover. They'll be fine. I'm not freaking out. The wheels aren't falling off.
I'm not saying that either.
No. But this is a game that, honestly, they should have won. They're at home against Bo Nix and the boys, right, Josh?
I can't say that they should have won. I think you have the NFL sack leader and the NFL leader in sacks, the Denver Broncos. Jalen Hurts is throwing less than 180 yards a game. Saquon Barkley is running about 50 yards a game. Neither one of those metrics obviously hit high end of the NFL. We discussed it a week or two ago. Jalen Hurts, outside of backups, was amongst the league lowest in yards for the season through the first 3 games. 1 touchdown a game through the air. I think he had 2 in his previous games. I don't know what the average is now, but it's just nothing checks the box for an elite offense. And you look, and no one's saying that they are, but to live up to last year, the wins don't translate to it being the same team.
No, definitely not. All right, enough said. We got a couple games. We're going to stop on the Washington game and talk a little bit about the Chargers, but let's just get through a couple of these that we all kind of agreed were going to be what they were. Can I also say, guys, that there's been a ton of upsets that I did not expect. I mean, did anybody actually pick Bo Nix to win last week? Any of our guys?
Yeah.
Who did?
Everyone but you.
Oh, yeah, you did say that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm the anomaly here.
What other upsets?
I was convinced that the Rams were going to beat the 49ers.
Yeah. Well,
That's
you're
fair.
playing all backups. You figured, other than McCaffrey.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get
Is
through
that
these
it?
next. Let's get through these next couple scores. Um, I'm not going to argue. You're right. Tennessee was able to go into Arizona. I mean, I think that's an upset. Tennessee wins 22-21. Baker,
Which
go
the
ahead.
Cardinals lost that themselves, but
100%.
Yeah, you can. I understand the people screaming rigged and stuff like that. It was a weird situation there, but
the people being you.
Yeah, you being the person. You
yeah,
call it rigged. I say Cam Ward rallied from 21-7 down the fourth quarter with a weirdo kind of play to get the
Cam
ball.
Ward threw a game-losing interception that turned into them winning the game. So there's no credit to him.
Yeah,
But,
it was
yeah.
a weird game.
Baker cannot win a
Regardless,
single
yeah.
game. Baker can't win a game unless he's down and has to have a fourth quarter drive and kick a field goal to win it. So the Bucks win 38-35 against Seattle. Seattle looked great. Those two guys played together in Carolina, as you know, Josh.
Oh yeah, everyone keeps posting the picture of them in Carolina jerseys or Baker Mayfield running scout, safety, linebacker, whatever they were doing.
Right.
But Baker Mayfield, his stat line, he had, what did he have? Over 375 yards.
Baker was 29 of 33 for 379.
Yeah, so he's the first player to ever have such a high yardage total and fewer than 5 incompletions in a single game.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
But he's a bust, though. He's a bust.
Historical game, right?
He did have a historical game.
But, I mean, look you have the totals for Sam Darnold, too. It was 28 of 34, 341. I mean, he played near perfect as well. And we're talking about a Seattle defense that was amongst the top 5 for the first few weeks. They just were both equally able to pick them apart.
Yeah, if you were going to say that, I mean, they're almost identical. You said it. Darnold 28 of 34, Baker 29 of 33. Darnold 341 yards, Baker 379.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns from Darnold and 2 from Baker, including the game winner.
So they both had over 80% completion. They both had over 340 yards. Yeah.
Bro, that's not how this game's supposed to be done. They got a cheat code.
Quarterbacks can sit, they are better quarterbacks. Baker had one of the best rookie years a quarterback has ever had when he was in Cleveland. I understand he was playing through shoulder injuries and had some other issues there. I believe he had 3 different coordinators in his first 2 years, 3 different coaches in his first 4 years. Yeah. It's just, give these guys a break, man.
Well, we're in week 5, and we're starting to see some teams start to develop rhythms and roll. So I think we've learned 2 things, which we say every year. Give a quarterback a chance to sit and learn. They do better. Let these guys play football, and then guess what? They start playing better football. All right, let's move down the road. A couple scores. Detroit was able to beat the Bengals. Again, no surprise. This Detroit secondary, they swiped 3 picks, broke up 7 passes in the first half alone. So you knew in the first half that Jamar Chase and the guys were going to be in trouble.
That was more of Jake Browning just being Jake Browning. There was literally a play when he's on his own 5-yard line, and he's you could close his own. He closed his eyes. He's not looking down the field. He just chucked it up, and it was a pick. It was just a terrible decision. But the Lions are great.
Unbelievable. The game I want to sit on, because I want to ask you guys, Caleb, you alluded to it. The Washington Commanders beat the Chargers 27-10. We all, I think this entire group, picked the Chargers. And Caleb, they are. What is wrong with the Chargers? We especially thought that this team would be better than they are.
It's hard to say. Hard to say exactly. I mean, obviously they lost to Marion Hampton in the second half of the game. That's never great. He's on IR right now with an ankle issue. We still don't know the extent of that, right? We just know it's going to be some time.
They didn't really specify.
They didn't say surgery.
Emphasized 4 weeks. So.
Yeah, so it could be longer. We don't know. With the Harbaughs being as coded as they usually are. But as far as the team goes, we see teams, every team goes through a little slump, whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's 4 weeks. We see this. It's better to get it out of the way early. I don't think they're just going to be terrible the rest of the year. Washington has some juice. I believe they were at home. First game with Jaden Daniels back. And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Bill, as everyone calls him, had a game, 120-plus scrimmage yards, and I believe 2 touchdowns. He was their lead back, broke out of that committee, looked great. I think that the Commanders just slapped them and just they hit him early and it just kept going. I don't think that it's anything to do with the Chargers being terrible. They do have a void now in their running back room. Right now, they have Hassan Haskins as their only active running back. They have Kamani Vidal on their practice squad, who's obviously going to get bumped up. But there's a lot of veterans out there we can talk about later, or you can just look them up that are available. So I'm curious to see what they do, whether they make a trade or bring in a veteran. But as of right now, they're rolling with Hassan Haskins.
And Josh, two things are noteworthy. One, Keenan Allen, the fastest to 1,000 career receptions, 159 games. That's a surprise to me because it seems like he's been around a long time.
He was injured beginning of his career.
And to Caleb's credit, their right guard and right tackle, the Chargers, were both sitting out. Becton and Pipkins are both out.
Well, and their franchise left tackle was out before the season even started.
The whole year.
Very tough to win when you have your best, lineman sitting on the bench.
Yeah. And they're also trying to get Oronde Gadsden involved. I believe Will Dissly was a healthy scratch. So you have Conklin and Gadsden. Gadsden, who's only played 2 games prior to this game, and then Conklin, who's a receiving threat, at this point, not very relevant. So you have not a ton of help for him around the line of scrimmage, of course. But then you look at what their defense was able to do. The only sack in this game came from Justin Aboigbe, so a defensive lineman. Not getting the pressure they want. I know they had Tuipulotu had 4 sacks against the Giants. That's Jackson Dart. That's Jackson Dart holding the ball for 90 years. I understand the pressure there, but they're not getting the pressure that they want without Khalil Mack, and so they go and trade for Odafe Owe from the Ravens. And so they presumably have a starter there with Thule now on the opposite side, and so that'll help them defensively. But offensively, Justin Herbert, 22 of 29, no big plays. I think he had an interception, but no big plays for them. The running game was irrelevant. I think Justin Herbert had that 30-yard run or whatever, 40-yard run. He led the team in rushing. And so Hampton wasn't doing great things before he got hurt. But, just no explosive plays for them. The one explosive play they had from Lad McConkey was called back. Otherwise, just weak play from both sides of the ball.
I mean, they did spot, the Chargers were initially up 10-0, but they did fall apart. Hey, here's the good news.
They ended with 10.
Chargers are 3-2, Broncos 3-2. So they're both sitting right now early among, believe it or not, Chiefs fall to 2-3. We'll get there in a second. Hey, I think we were all a little surprised that Buffalo wasn't able to beat the Patriots at home. Patriots win 23-20. Guys, this was just a good old-fashioned chess match. You could see the coaches adjusting, even the Bills coach. And the Bills were just kind of going toe-to-toe, some defensive stops, a lot of turnovers, which is unprecedented for the Bills, though. Caleb, what is your take on this game?
I think it would have been further apart in scoring if Ramondre Stevenson didn't fumble and obviously Antonio Gibson didn't turn the ball over when he hurt his knee. It was really close, divisional game in enemy territory for Drake May. He came in, played safe ball, got it done. Really a clutch play on the last drive to seal it. The falling over while getting sacked and throwing it straight for the first down. Just great play. We saw Stephon Diggs. I think we alluded to it last week. They moved him to the slot and that he would have a big game, and he did have a big game. He had 140 yards on 11 catches. Massive game. Obviously, he's their wide receiver 1 now, so they figured that out in that area. Demario Douglas is benched before him in that role, so the Patriots are a great-looking team. Their defense is getting healthy. The Bills, I don't want to say it was predictable, but I said last week it wouldn't be surprising if they lost. And then the rookie kicker, shout out to him. He won the game in a clutch moment, last second, all the pressure. It was just a good game.
Josh?
Yeah. I think this is the first game we got to see Drake May in prime time, and so there was questions as to how he would play because we know, the pressure there, of course, everyone's watching, and he was unfazed by that, as he often looks unfazed. And the Caleb mentioned Stephon Diggs taking over. They didn't do anything on the ground. They had one drive where Antonio Gibson looked good. Beyond that, Ramondre was not good. What did he have? Double the yardage as carries. It was a low number. Not running efficiently. He sniped 2 touchdowns on the 1-yard line. So what is it going to look like for them in the running game with Gibson not there? Hopefully a lot more Travion Henderson. Yeah. I think the number was 97% of his carries have gone for positive yardage. So he's someone that's always going to be gaining yardage. Everyone knows his profile, the athlete, the blocker, the receiving threat. He has it all, and especially when you look at someone like Ramondre Stevenson, who's leading the league in fumbles from non-quarterbacks, and he led the league in fumbles last year from non-quarterbacks. You should start to look at the guy and give him less snaps and promote the guy who didn't have a single fumble in college. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully they make the right move. I know there's some guys, Mike Vrabel, especially with what happened with Derrick Henry and the Titans, there's just a long wait for these guys for some reason. And I don't know if that's a Mike Vrabel thing or whatever's under him on this coaching staff, but hopefully we see a change there. But obviously the win against the Bills is the biggest focal point, as y'all mentioned. And the Bills just not look like themselves.
No, I think the turnovers were a little unusual for them. They're not a team that turns the ball over a ton. And again, it looked like Vrabel was just out chess, playing chess with them. Just the great call on offense and defense. It seems like both teams, if you didn't know their history, you would think that both teams were amazingly equally matched. And allegedly, the Patriots are rebuilding, and the Bills are perennial Super Bowl favorites. So I love division games. You know what I mean? I love division games. All right, this was kind of a surprise to me. Chiefs go into Jacksonville. Duval wins 31-28. Trevor Lawrence's stumbling 1-yard touchdown with 23 seconds left sealed the game, where we already watched a 99-yard pick six and several miscues, Caleb, from Patrick Mahomes, who does not seem to be able to win the tight games, which he's been historically famous for in the past.
Yeah, they looked flat. I think it's 100% due to their lack of run game presence. He's still leading the team after this game, even though Hunt had multiple touchdowns. Still leading the team in rushing yards with only 160, 180, something in there, which is awful. It's going into week 6. Your team should not have under 200 rushing yards in 6 games. Anyway, they don't look good. They look a little rusty still. I'm very interested to see how they do with Rashee Rice back next week, after this week. The game was weird, too. There was a play, I'm sure we'll talk about this, where Parker Washington's going, I believe they're backed up in their territory, the Jaguars. Parker Washington going for an in route, and he's jammed. They throw a pick at him, and he gets knocked over, and then Trevor Lawrence throws an interception straight to the DB. And the commentators didn't talk about it. The line judge standing right there didn't throw a flag. It was one of the weirdest plays I've seen. I was just wondering what y'all thought about it.
I thought, to be honest, my big pet peeve is DPI that don't get called. Nowadays, it looks like every defensive back is got his one hand kind of behind you as he reaches around with the other. So he's really holding your arm or pulling you, which I can tell you firsthand when you're trying to catch a football that's super. It's wrong, and they don't call it. And also, like, the Chiefs are the worst setting up like a V, and I don't know why they don't call them for offsides or illegal procedure or whatever every single play, because they just don't. So those things are frustrating for me to watch in general. But the picks and things like that, I thought there were a lot of picks last night. I mean, Kelsey scored on one.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy, on like all the social nerds that are like, the Chiefs have the refs in their pocket. I personally don't think so.
You could argue this for a little bit. It was pretty blatant.
Well, you could,
Parker Washington knocked off his feet.
I know.
Threw a pick.
But I think
standing right there.
If you're looking around the field, you see a lot of that stuff. Period. It's just, it seems to be more prevalent with all the primetime action that the Chiefs get.
I think that this is a rant, but I think that they should have it to where you have a I don't know what they're going to call it, a flag challenge. Give the coach 100%. 1 or 2 of those a game. There should have been a flag here. And just something like that. Because we've seen that even with the Saints and Rams years ago, that the terrible one that they changed the rule over, and they took that rule away. So you used to be able to challenge DPI calls.
Caleb, one thing that the UFL, XFL, whoever got it right, Josh and I were talking about it when we sometimes would watch those games. Those coaches can call basically throw a flag and review any play for anything. And we watched a playoff game, right, Josh, where they didn't get the 4th down yardage they needed. So the coach threw the flag, and the ref said, "What's the problem?" He goes, "We are throwing the flag because you didn't call something against the defense." Sure enough, they reviewed it, and the defense committed a foul, and they got the 1st down, and were able to go ahead and score. So I don't know.
Minimum, they should be able to challenge if it affects where the ball's going. Obviously, you can call holding on every play if you really look at it.
Sure, you can.
But just like DPI like that, where it's so blatantly obvious.
Change of
Two
possession.
DBs cross, slam into the receiver, and then he throws it straight to the DB that crossed for a pick. It's not Trevor Lawrence's fault. Even Troy Aikman said it was a silly mistake, as if he just accidentally threw an interception. I mean,
well, the one with Kelsey with the pick near the end zone, that's really hard to get 22 guys in a 5-yard space.
Yeah. That, I don't care about that. I'm saying that one determined the game was in the fourth quarter. They turned it over. Patrick Mahomes came down, and they scored a touchdown, I believe, pretty quick. And then the Jaguars got the ball back and obviously ended the game. It was just.
What do you think about it, Josh?
It's not encouraging to see, unless you are a Chiefs fan, of course.
I think the one that you're referencing with the 1 yard, 2 yard touchdown, whatever it was for the Chiefs, where Juju's setting up a pick, and you're legally able to do it within 1 yard, but he was in the end zone, so it was leaning more towards 2 yards, like very clearly. And it's silly to talk about 1 yard, but we're talking about 3 feet difference.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely matters.
It's not
I'm
like
talking
it's
about
not
the
like it's
defensive
inches.
pick that they set.
Yeah, I'm talking about his first.
Yeah.
I feel like almost with Juju, Kelsey, Mahomes all in the face of the ref saying we have 1 yard is what ultimately skewed that call from being accurate, because everybody, commentary, the ref that they have watching the game that they bring in to discuss plays like that was like, this is very clearly a penalty, very clearly a pick. I mean, everyone saw what it was. It was further than 1 yard, but ultimately, them running up to the ref, I think they kind of bought their way, peer pressured their way into getting that touchdown.
Not with pressure, not with dollars.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Of course.
But we see Chiefs, it's not, I don't know if it's coaching. I don't think Andy Reid's doing it. He might be. But the Chiefs players are always making their case immediately, and it kind of does sway plays, like Josh is saying.
I think that one definitely.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like it was a pick play. It's like, oh, they tried to run this designed 1 yard pick, and they were adamant about it, so we'll give it to them. But
it always seems to be, it used to be the Patriots, and now it's the Chiefs that always kind of get these calls given to them, or no calls that just magically work in their favor. But that Parker Washington one in the rant was the most egregious play I've seen in a long time.
And De'Ami Brown was getting held on that one that hit him in the chest on that quick in route in the red zone. It hit him in the chest, and he had his arm or his waist held on the early portion of that. But
is there? I'm sure they're vetted. This is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, go for it.
Like, are refs like vetted for like obviously sports betting and stuff? Because this one was like that bad.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple things about the refs that I think is important. Now, when you play at the little level like I did, you don't know where the ref is. You don't really care about the ref at the level that I grew up playing all those years. It's totally different. But from what I understand, and if you watch it, I've been told that players definitely play their position knowing where the referees are, i.e. those D-backs know that there's a line judge here or a back judge here, so they know they can get away with swooping in here, and he's probably not going to see it. Do you know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, too, these guys are looking at 22 guys, and they're looking at an area that they're designated to look at. So unfortunately, you can miss something right off your peripheral because you're supposed to be looking at the running back. You know what I mean? Not the receiver, but you'd be like, the guy's right there. There's a lot, and yes, Caleb, they're supposed to be men and women that do not have they don't have favorite teams, blah 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 blah, which I find that hard to believe too, because I've seen too many refs come up and literally tell quarterbacks mic'd up, like, "Hey man, let's have a good game. I got you today." What does that mean? I got you today.
How are you not going to be a fan of the game and become a ref?
Plus, let's be honest, Brett Favre would be the first to tell you when he played, like, he schmoozed every referee out there, and they loved him.
Yeah.
So you don't think Brett was getting the call? Come on.
It's just,
I don't think it's rigged, though.
Yeah, I don't think it's rigged to that sense. I think that there's biases, obviously, with the Chiefs and with the Patriots in the past and stuff like that. But
there's definitely biases.
This one was just bad, and I just wanted to bring it up.
Can I have? Let's talk about the game for one moment.
Yeah, sorry.
The Jaguars' offensive line, they've had problems. I think they allowed, the number was 54% pressure, 55% pressure. So, I mean, that answers as to why Trevor Lawrence is running around so much. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball, Trayvon Walker was not playing in this game. Their defensive pressure went down a ton. They weren't really getting pressure. They ultimately needed Devin Lloyd to fake the blitz and jump that man to get the interception.
Right.
Yeah, so they needed plays to be made. They couldn't just have their general pressure they're putting out on defense, and then offensively, Trevor Lawrence had to run. No other teams won this year with that much pressure put on their quarterback. So obviously a big win for them. And the Chiefs, there's concern, but they're only one game behind right now with the Chargers loss, as you said.
Yeah, and to me, guys, this is where people get too excited. When you look at these divisions, you got now we're way too early. I've already seen people start putting out if the playoffs started today. Way too early, guys. But let's be fair. That whole division, you have two guys at 3-2, and they're at 2-3. So next week they could literally all be tied. So it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Even the Eagles have a 1-game lead over the Commanders, who, because of Dallas's tie, they could have had a 1-game lead over both of us. The one that's still going to be the one to watch, y'all. Lions 4 wins, Vikings 3. Packers only have the 2 with the tie, and then of course the Bears.
They had a bye week already.
Unfortunately, the South, NFC South, there's always a dumpster fire set of teams, and then one team that squeaks in. So it's just all way too close. I mean, let's not forget Arizona started off essentially with 2 wins and now 3 losses. So we're way too early, for all this. All right, let's transition into Week 6. Week 6 has got some interesting matchups. I alluded to this matchup right off the bat. Thursday night game, Philadelphia's going to the New York Giants. This is how we've been doing it, so I'm just going to give it to you like this, guys. Philly's favored currently by 7 points. Anybody taking the Giants at home on that crappy field? Nope.
I no, but like I said with the Bills Patriots, I won't be surprised. No. It's the divisional game. It's always 51% in favor to the better team. So I'm gonna go Eagles still.
Yeah. There's the sounds silly. I'm picking the Eagles, but it just sounds silly to say. Is the only real metric that the Eagles have over the Giants right now, with Russell Wilson, with Jackson Dart on the whole season, is more points scored per game. Which it sounds silly, yeah, that's how you get wins. But
no,
there's more sacks from the Giants.
Well, to be fair, sorry, go continue. Finish your thing.
More sacks from the Giants, more rushing yards per game from the Giants, more time of possession significantly, more yards.
But that's been the whole mantra with the Eagles anyway.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was they have the broken play, special teams play that doesn't count for offensive yards or offensive stats. Yeah. So they have that anomaly. You could say it's happened 4 times. So is it really an anomaly? Yeah. But it's just not. It's not sustainable. It doesn't help them long term, and we can't gauge anything off that. Right. A blocked kick. There's almost a block kicked every kick in the league. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
With if this game had veteran quarterback play, I think it would be much closer. But watching what the Chargers were able to do against Jackson Dart, to watch what the Saints were able to do against Jackson Dart. Kool-Aid hasn't had an interception in his career until he played Jackson Dart. They had sacks called back that should have been sacks. I don't know what happened with the refereeing there. I think Granderson got called for roughing the passer when he literally didn't even fall on top of Jackson Dart. He just ran around him and pushed him over like a sack. He held the ball too long, didn't fall on top of the guy, rushing the passer somehow. This dude's going to get sacked. The Eagles might have as many sacks in this game as they have the whole season. Like
you're not wrong.
That's just I'm picking the Eagles solely because they're playing against Jackson Dart. They have great cornerback play. They're going to figure it out.
And if Jalen Carter can keep the phlegm in his mouth, he will have a great game.
Yeah.
Nice visual. All right, let's talk about the Denver Broncos hosting the New York Jets. Denver is 7.5-point favorites. Is this a lock?
Are they going to score 21 points?
Well, can the Jets? Who y'all got?
No. Broncos by a lot. Dobbins will have over 100 rushing yards again. Call me crazy.
All right. Well, they've scored. The Broncos have scored 1 more point per game than the Jets, but the Jets have had a lot of garbage time considering they're 0-5. Outside of week one, and then was it week 2 with Tyrod Taylor against the Bucs, where they happened to come back, so it wasn't like it was a close game the entire time. Right. But they've basically been chasing. right now, the Broncos have the second best defense as far as points allowed, allowing less than 17. Their time possession, their rushing yards, as Caleb mentioned, they're number one in sacks. The Jets have no interceptions this year. Michael Carter, the corner, is injured. Sauce is playing pretty well, but he's a coverage guy. He might follow with your top receiver. I would think that he would against Cortland Sutton. I don't know. I think the Broncos are going to do well against a defense that just got absolutely ran over by anyone on the Cowboys. Flournoy, tight end one, Jake Ferguson, top 5 running back Javonte Williams, top quarterback Dak Prescott. Like, it all adds up to success for the Broncos.
All right, let's go to a no-brainer. I think LA Rams 7.5-point favorites in Baltimore against our favorite ginger quarterback. Caleb, anybody taking the Ravens?
No.
I picked them last week. I'm not a Texans hater. I swear I've only picked against them twice in a row. But yeah, no, they're talking about Cooper Rush might not even start because he had 3 interceptions. I think he had 4 incompletions or whatever it was. It was a low number, and 3 of those were interceptions. So
who's their backup to him?
I think they got Huntley back after.
Oh man, Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley.
Well, here's the thing,
Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. Yeah,
before Sunday, we were literally talking about how the Browns, were making a quarterback change with confidence, right? And then within a couple of days, Flacco's gone. And then we were talking about how Cooper Rush was brought in. They said it in the pregame. Well, they brought you in because you have veteran experience and you're a winning backup. And he's like, yeah, I'll do my best. And he's going to be benched likely. So, I just can't. I can't.
The Ravens did exactly what you think they would do with Cooper Rush and Dink and Dunk, and maybe they would have explosive plays. They activated Keaton Mitchell, but Derrick Henry goes out there and runs 2 yards a carry. Zay Flowers did nothing outside of 1 big catch. They continue to only use 1 receiver per game. It's just what's going on?
Yeah, Rashad Bateman blanked goose egg.
Yeah. Hopkins had nothing. Like,
all right,
it's disappointing with or without Lamar. There's stat totals from everybody.
Let's keep hopping here. The Dallas Cowboys are favorites to walk into Carolina and win by 3.5. Anybody taking Carolina? No upsets here?
If Rico Dowdle's playing, it'll be fun to watch.
He will be, and it won't be. Because Rico had 5 years in Dallas to show us who he is. 1 game last week does not make a man.
I will say, I think every single Bryce Young win outside of blowing out the Falcons and beating the Falcons the last week of the year, last year, every single time he's had to come back and win that game. So, regardless of what's happening, he's going to have to match the number 1 offense and then come back and beat them, according to how his career's gone so far, unless he's playing Atlanta.
One thing to add is J.C. Horn has been in kind of a slump lately. Chow Smith-Wade, their other corner, is banged up, and Mike Jackson, the other corner, is banged up as well. So I'm assuming George Pickens will be with J.C. Horn, so we'll see how that matchup works. Expect a lot of Javonte Williams in this game.
Horn's not tall. Pickens is going to eat that up. Oh, do we have an idea when CD's coming back?
I believe.
Yeah, he can practice this week, but I don't think they're going to start him.
It's worth mentioning how we saw the success of Darren Waller coming off of essentially retirement. He came in and had the success that he had. Jake Ferguson has 41 catches at the tight end position, leading the league by a pretty large margin. They're clearly he's had his go the last few games, getting those receptions, and it's going to continue against the Panthers, of course. Maybe no Ryan Flournoy probably won't have 100 million yards, but hey, Jake Ferguson, old reliable. With the success of Williams and Ferguson, they're not really going to be in a situation where they're going to have to.
No.
I mean, against this defense, like Caleb mentioned, the names out. It's just going to be smooth going, I think.
And Ferguson, I just saw with 41 receptions, the first tight end to get 41 in 5 games or something in the NFL. Pretty wild. All right, let's talk about one that may get us a little bit of diversity here in our picks. Arizona going to Indianapolis. Indianapolis favored at home by 6.5. Anybody high on Arizona, or are we sticking to our guns with Indy and Indiana Jones?
It is important to add Kyler Murray has a foot injury. They didn't say the extent of that. They're saying it's something they're monitoring. which I've heard rumors of IR. I don't know if they're real. They're probably not, but just something to be weary of. Weary. Is it either one? Yeah, English.
Yep.
It's fun. Their run game is in shambles. Michael Carter got 18 carries last week. Was okay. It was also the Tennessee Titans. DeMarcado had a 61-yard would-be touchdown. I mentioned earlier that he fumbled on the goal line. Still a lot of questions there. They lost James Conner and Trey Benson, obviously. I do not trust Kyler Murray to have to throw the ball to win, especially against the Colts that are going to eat up the clock and maintain possession and score every drive with Jonathan Taylor. So there's no chance for the Cardinals, in my opinion.
Yeah, you look at the pressure. The Cardinals are about average as far as sacks go in the NFL. I believe they have 18. I was looking at it just a moment ago, or 10 sacks rather. They're 18th in the NFL. Daniel Jones, there's 34 quarterbacks that have been sacked more than Daniel Jones this year. Obviously, you know the math. 32 starting players. He's 34th, or 34 other. So he's 35th. So he's not getting sacked. He's not getting touched. We're talking about an average team as far as that goes. They're missing a few names. Yeah, that's a problem. Daniel Jones has been just coasting around back there. No worries at all. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, is averaging 90-some yards a game on the ground. I think with everything that Caleb said, with the injuries to Kyler Murray, the backup running backs, the reliance on one receiver, the lowest target rate, 2 wide receivers in the NFL as a group, it's just there's no reason that they should win. And then you look at who their backup is. Who do they have now? They lost Clayton Tune and they lost Desmond Ridder. Does anyone know off the top of their head who their backup is if Kyler can't go?
Off the top of my head.
I'll pull it up. It's Jacoby Brissett. That's who it is.
Right.
So I guess they're in better hands than previous years.
As a passing group, they would be in better
revenge
hands.
game. Jacoby Brissett. Then we get interested.
And then we can start talking.
All right, let's talk about a couple of teams where quarterback is not a question. Seattle Seahawks visiting Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags are favored by 1.5. I'm taking Jacksonville. Anybody not taking Jacksonville?
I think this is the toughest one for Jacksonville in their recent games.
Yeah, I think this will be. Me and Josh talked about it earlier in the day when we looked at it. Brian Thompson will have a blow-up game against Tariq Woolen, and Josh says as a joke, forcing them to be traded to the Raiders, back to Pete Carroll land. But I think it's a get right game for Brian Thomas. I think that it's going to be a shootout, as we just saw with the Bucs and Seattle, both great defenses. Same situation here. Jacksonville is the best defense, I think, against the pass. If I'm not wrong, they have the most interceptions.
10 picks.
10 picks. Sam Darnold is probably going to throw a pick or two. It's going to be a shootout. I'm leaning more towards Jacksonville. I just like the way they're playing. They just came off this big win in prime time. They're at home, which helps. You're not playing in Seattle. Jacksonville.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I pick Jacksonville every week. And of course, they lose to Jake Browning. But Seattle, you look at what they're doing right now. Kenneth Walker has 66 yards on the ground per game. That's less than Travis Etienne, but of course we know there's a committee there. And then you look at Jackson Smith and Jigba, 107 yards a game. That's double of what the leader is for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. Like you mentioned, first in takeaways for the Jaguars, but the Seahawks are second in takeaways. They're also top 10 in sacks. They're highly efficient on third down. I think this is a balanced matchup for the two of them, but I think for the first time I'm going to pick against the Jaguars this year.
Oh, man.
Seahawks.
All right. Let's go with a couple of games that I think we're all going to agree with. I'm going to give you 3 games because I don't think there's a lot to say in terms of who's going to win these games. We have, again, the Chargers visiting Miami. I believe the Chargers are 4.5-point favorites. Steelers are 5.5-point favorites against the Browns at home. And New England is 3.5-point favorites against the Saints. Now, let's back up just a second. Chargers unanimously should beat the Dolphins. Anybody? No.
Chargers, yes, they will.
Steelers unanimously. Now, this is ironic. The 41-year quarterback in that, the 41-year-old quarterback in that division is the only one that hasn't gotten hurt or been traded. What in the world?
Or been traded.
Well, I mean,
it's obviously the most stable team in that division right now, playing in Dylan Gabriel's second game, which he targeted the tight end position. He targeted David Njoku. I think Harold Fannin scored in that game as well. So 2 touchdowns, both to the tight end position. This is on paper an easy matchup for the tight end position for Quinshon Judkins. But of course, the pressure rate is probably going to be higher. They're going to force Dylan Gabriel to throw down the field. That's not his strong suit. And then he's going to have to figure out, who's going to be those targets down the field. And I think the Steelers are going to know how to do that and how to target him well in that matchup.
So nobody's taking the Browns, I assume.
Nope, 51% Steelers.
Okay, 51. What about New England? They're hot, and they're playing New Orleans, who's just had their first win in a minute. Anybody taking the Saints? I like the Saints.
No,
I like how they've been playing. They're in every game. They just can't finish a single game, which is not what I expected from a franchise that's dumping players allegedly, which they're not. They're trusting their new coach, they're trusting their young quarterback, and they're out there balling out a little bit. Still gonna lose.
I think that. I think they will lose, but I think it's more of a trap game. Drake May's good. We saw him in prime time get it done. He's been playing very good. He's taken a massive leap from last year to this year. But he is a second-year player. I mean, he's going to show glimpses of that second-year player, I think.
Right.
I think this will be a close game. I don't think it's going to be just a walk out of there, blow them out type of game. There are a lot of vets on that Saints defense, a lot of scary players that are really good at football. So I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it'll be very close. But I'm going to pick the Patriots.
Despite Kamara hasn't done a ton this game or this year, right? He has one touchdown. He still has double the amount of rushing yards per game than Ramondre Stevenson. So what we mentioned before is they need to get Travion Henderson involved. These teams are pretty similar. Obviously, less rushing yards per game for the Patriots. 7 more points scored and a better defense for the Patriots. So both sides of the ball are better. Passing yards are 50 more per game from Drake May. They're just now getting going with their passing game with Stephon Diggs, hopefully with Travion Henderson. The Saints have been playing well, like you said. They're in every game, but Spencer Rattler started 10, 11 games. That's his first win. They've looked solid, all things considered, but it's just not going to continue against Mike Vrabel. Like we said, a reason to pick them against the Buffalo Bills is his coaching. I think that's going to pull them through this game as well. And Drake May hasn't had many mistakes either, so there's not really a reason to be, completely concerned for them.
Right. I'm going to chalk this next game, our first evening game, a 4:00 game, up to who cares? Who cares? This is a game that who cares?
All right.
It's Tennessee Titans and the Las Vegas Raiders. Who cares? Vegas is favored, 4.5 points. Obviously, someone cares, but there's always a game that's on the weekly schedule that I don't care. This is my I don't care. Does anybody really care?
No, unless you're a Raiders fan.
Oh,
yeah.
Titans
are rebuilding, and the Raiders are terrible. I'm picking Raiders too.
I think Raiders, they have everyone on their defense is a Pro Bowler, whether they're 40 years old or not. They're all really good. The Titans are rebuilding, obviously, young quarterback, rough situation. Genty, I think that finally they're going to not have Geno throw the ball 50 times, and he's not going to throw 5 interceptions. So I think they can rely on Genty. They can rely on Max Crosby, who is an animal. He's going to blow up the game regardless. I don't think it's going to be much of a fun one for Titans fans.
Yeah, and Titans have Arden Key, who's probably out again. They've had great success with Jeffrey Simmons so far this year, but they're also starting Jalen Armour-Davis, who's been a backup for the Ravens. And they're still trying to figure out their safety room, bringing back Kevin Winston. Is he going to start? Who knows? But you look at what the Cardinals were able to do against this Titans team. You saw very early Marvin Harrison, the deep connection there. We know Geno Smith wants to do that. He hasn't been able to do that successfully. They're just going to hammer that this whole game, I think. You're going to see Thornton. You're going to see Tucker. You're going to see these guys. Brock Bowers isn't likely there. Michael Mayer isn't likely there. They're going to take these shots this game, and I think Geno is going to have success. Cam, when he's had success, it's been weird. It's been, a play that you don't want him to run. It's a throw you don't want him to throw, and he connects on it, and that's awesome. But they didn't really win this game last week. They did end up winning the game, but we can't walk in, like Caleb mentioned, against Max Crosby, against right now Devin White and Landon Roberts and Jeremy Chin, all these guys that we know are insane and out of their mind. knowing they're going
Yeah.
up against a rookie,
Yeah,
and they've just
it's gonna
lost
be vultures.
bad. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
One
next-
thing I want to add
yeah.
about a big rookie from Tennessee was at Oregon with Bo Nix for a little bit. Dante Thornton for the Raiders. He hasn't done anything yet. He's been a decoy. He's 6'5", 205, and runs a 4.3. He's terrifying receiver. Right now, he's been a decoy. He's done nothing. His biggest game was 45 yards. But like Josh was saying, that deep ball for Geno has been lacking. And this is the perfect game to get it going against these corners and safeties that aren't really established yet for the Titans. And I think Dante will finally get that long touchdown, I hope, because I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I mean, if he has that matchup against Armour Davis, then we can see it.
6'5", runs a 4.3. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right, y'all. Here's a game we're not going to talk about. We're just not going to talk
Okay.
about it. We're not putting energy into this. Cincinnati Bengals are visiting the Green Bay Packers, who are coming off a bye and are favored by 14 points. Our listening audience know one thing: the Packers will win.
Yeah, Tim's not here to say it and explain everything. I don't think we have to. I think it's very obvious. Tim, I'll sum it up for you. The Packers will win.
Yes. All right, now here's one. Go with my imagination on this game. San Francisco 49ers visiting Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay's favored by 3. You know why they're favored by 3, Caleb? Because every game this year they've won by a field goal in the last minute,
behind.
which is exactly how they're going to win this game against the 49ers. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win on a field goal over the 49ers. That's my prediction. I know it's a stretch.
It's not a stretch. I think they should win.
That's exactly how
on
it's going to
paper.
go.
They're playing backups again, it seems. I'm going to pick 49ers. I think that Siegel, Lenore, and the DBs they have there are playing out of their mind. They know they have to start. They have to stop Egbuka. Cade Otton's finally coming out. But I don't think that Rachaad White can have a game like he did last week in Seattle. I think the 49ers are going to play up defensively. Fred Warner, Rachaad White, that matchup doesn't work in my brain. I think Fred Warner's going to win that every time. I just think that the defense that Saleh has is going to come out swinging. They played very well against the Rams, which we see the Rams being a top offense this year with Puka Nacua. They just need to shut out one receiver and maintain a tight end and a running back. That I know Chris Godwin's back, but he's still nursing that injury coming back. He's still a little slow getting down the field and everything. So I just feel like the 49ers have this game, and I think it's going to be surprising.
Josh?
Yeah, right now, I want to say that Mac Jones is having, 300 yards a game? He started 3 games, he has 900 yards. 300 yards a game, 2 touchdowns passing a game. Christian McCaffrey.
No.
Yeah, well, he's won 3 games now.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So,
when you're done, I have a point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey's running 500 times for 500 yards, but he's been a top-level receiver as a running back. But yeah, less than 20 points allowed per game from the 49ers. On paper, Mac Jones versus Baker Mayfield is not that crazy far off of a matchup so far. Like, they're pretty even through the first few games. And I'm not saying Mac Jones is at all Baker Mayfield. But also, Mac Jones wasn't supposed to beat 400-yard Matthew Stafford last week either. And so the guy that just threw up 375 last week, Baker Mayfield.
I mean, just saying
playing
300 yards a game
top
is
10
a lot.
defense right now.
Yeah.
Yep. My point is, if you're the 49ers, you're 4-0 with this guy. You're not sitting him. I know Brock Purdy's gonna be out.
Yeah, if you win.
He's not. Yeah, if you win, he's not out the whole year. Right? He's just on IR.
No, I think it's a grade 2 turf toe.
I don't care
so
if you win or lose. You shouldn't be sitting.
He's not on IR yet.
Yeah.
If we go back to
regardless, if Brock Purdy's ready to come back tomorrow and I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm not benching Mac Jones. Yeah.
Isn't it safe to? We talked about this, and this is a stretch. We talked about it. Obviously, Jacksonville's got their quarterback, but shouldn't Fields have gone to the Jets and Mac Jones should have gone to the 49ers? Like, we're finally seeing what we said they should have drafted back then.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's kind of working.
Yeah. The Lord's will.
I think that Mac Jones, especially this game we just saw, has won that locker room over anyway. I think that they want him to start playing through all the injuries he had.
It's the suit.
Coming back out. And then after the game, in his press conference, they're asking him questions if he should be a starter in the league. He said, "This is Brock Purdy's team." Like, all the perfect things you should have said as the backup.
All
class act. Mac Jones, you can't dislike him. He's great, fun to watch. I mean,
Yeah.
so far as his 49ers story arc, he's been great to watch.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Enough about these guys.
Okay.
Who'd you got,
I
Josh?
forget you don't like the 49ers. My bad.
I can't like the 49ers. It's you can't be a Cowboys fan and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
I love those
I mean-
Niners. You can't. It's nothing personal. I'm sure. Listen, I'd hang out with Mac Jones. Maybe he dresses way better than I do, but I'd probably hang out with him. It's cool, dude. But let's not talk about him anymore. Who you got? You said Josh, 49ers? Tampa Bay.
I want to pick the 49ers, but
You're going to pick Tampa Bay?
I think I'm going to pick Tampa Bay.
That's my boy.
But McCaffrey might do it to him.
Enough said. I've
He
already
might
put up
do
the
it
new,
to him.
I've already put
He
up
used
the
to
next
do it to him
graphic.
twice a year.
The other graphics
Yeah.
on screen already. The Lions and Chiefs, Sunday Night Football. Bum, 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 bum. Who's going to win this game? You know
Probably
what?
not the Chiefs.
Chiefs are favored by
Yeah,
2.5. Here, let me go with me here for a
What?
second. Go with me for a second. There, I know.
Why
right
are
now,
they favored?
Vegas is smoking something. Okay, they're at home, which is probably why. But can I just say this? The Lions are playing out of their mind on offense, and the Chiefs
yeah.
aren't. You don't need any
This
more
is without-
breakdown than that.
Without Jameson Williams, he's done nothing.
Well, I mean,
He had one catch
guys,
last week.
I don't see the Chiefs. Now listen, the Chiefs are 2-3. Being 2-4 would be really weird to me. That's the only thing. I've watched enough football to know.
You said this when they played the Jags, though.
Okay, man, I did. but this is one more than that. I'm going Detroit.
Yeah. I think this is the game we see Jameson Williams finally have that break the field score that he's known for. If you play him in fantasy this week, say a few prayers before the game because he might hit you with it. I think this is the perfect matchup. Prime time. He's been quiet all year. He's cooking. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, the concern is that there is Dorsey and Arnold are out in the secondary for the Lions. They have Taylor Decker, who's still hurt. Khalif Raymond got hurt in this game. Like you said, that's a problem only because there's not much depth there already. They're gonna have to rely on Tesla to have to play. And then the matchups that they played, who'd they play against? They played against the Ravens. I don't remember what game Lamar got hurt, but the Ravens, who have a terrible defense, they've allowed 40 points a game essentially. And then of course Jake Browning. So they've had a couple gifts in a row defensively, and they're still putting up high totals. But I think the pressure that the Chiefs can be able to put on them is the highest they're going to face the last 3-4 games.
Yeah,
and I don't think that the Chiefs have an answer for that running back tandem that they have. I think they have good corners. They have Nick Bolton, who's a solid linebacker, but I don't think they have the answer for all the weapons. That's why I think Jameson Williams will have a big game because play action, Jameson Williams just feels correct in my brain.
Feels correct.
Yeah,
I think
Goff it can't move around like Lawrence, obviously.
No.
Yeah.
No, but the Chiefs, listen, this is what I love about this league. On any given Sunday, Pat Mahomes could put on his big boy pants and come out here and just whip you.
Yeah.
Any given
But for them
Sunday.
to be favored.
Yeah, I think it's
silly.
the home thing. It's silly. All right, let's talk about Monday
you
night.
can't be favored if you lose like a week before in prime time.
We've got 2 Monday
Away.
night games. Let's talk about the one I'll be awake for first. That is Buffalo Bills and now listen, I don't mean that. I mean I'm old and I tend to pass out on these things because I'm old and I need my sleep. Buffalo's favored by 4.5 in Atlanta. I don't think any surprise. Buffalo will be back. They have a rebound from that loss. Atlanta is not capable, in my opinion, of competing with the Buffalo Bills. 4.5 point favors. I think they cover. I think they win. Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. Anyone else?
You don't even have to watch that one, I feel like.
Yeah, I wish it was the later
Unless
game. So I wouldn't
Bijan-
feel bad about missing.
Unless Bijan decides to have 200 scrimmage yards and just tear them apart, which could happen. Matt Milano's out again. Dorian Williams questionable. Their linebacker room is empty. So it could happen. This is the time for it to happen. Bijan Robinson. So
Yeah. I don't think the Falcons are going to have the ball enough.
yeah.
Or they might have the ball and give it right back to the Bills because their time of possession stinks. They haven't been running the ball well. I can't say they can't run the ball because Bijan's great, but he's mostly done most of his work through the air.
Dump off. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they have high passing yardage per game, almost the same as Josh Allen, but their running game is lesser of James Cook, and obviously I think Bijan's a better player. But the time possession for the Falcons is not good versus the number one for the Bills. The Bills know that they fell flat in that game, and the Falcons are coming off a bye, so there's advantages for both teams in that regard. But yeah, the Falcons can't control the clock. I'm not going to choose for them to do so against the Bills.
No.
I think I'll lone wolf the Falcons. Actually, I just think it's they've had all week to watch them. They've had a whole week to watch the Bills. I don't
Me
think
too.
that
I've had the whole week to
football.
watch the Bills too, and I
Great.
see a
It's
Bills
football.
beating the mess out of them.
It's football. I
Yeah, it
think
is.
the pressure rate that the Falcons have is consistent enough. I think that Bijan Robinson's a problem. I think Drake London can score some points against this DB room. I don't think that the defense for the Bills is that crazy. I think Ed Oliver might be out again, so not a lot of pressure on Michael Penix. This is the week, I think, for the Bills to lose again. So I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. What's the line again? What'd you say it was? 7.5?
4.5 currently.
4.5. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I don't think it's a gimme for the Bills. I would not be surprised if the Falcons win, so I'll pick them.
If Michael Penix can play mistake-free against a defense that will let you, we just saw Drake May do it in prime time, and Drake May is better, I understand. But you have Bijan, you have wide receivers. Like Drake May had Stephon Diggs and no run game, and they happened to muster that one out. So
yep, I mean, this is the NFL. We watched the Andy Reid teams that won Super Bowls. All the Bill Belichick teams that won Super Bowls have 4 or 5, sometimes 6 losses in a season, and they win a Super Bowl. So they have to get these losses in there sometime. The Bills aren't that good. They're a great team, but I just think that there's holes in their game. A lot of injuries now on their defense, so this is the week for them to be exploited.
Okay, let me say what you're not saying. The
Okay.
Patriots, you've already said, are going to win this week, and the Bills are going to lose this week. By virtue of that, going into Week 7 next week, the New England Patriots will be 4-2 and leading by virtue of their win over the Bills, the AFC East. That's what you're saying without saying it.
I do think that, and I think that the Dolphins aren't terrible. They're in every game still. We'll see how it is in 8 weeks when we're at the end of the season. I think this division is a toss-up still. I think Vrabel is that kind of guy. He made the Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill a dark horse playoff team every year that he was in that division there. Vrabel's a problem. I think he's the best coach in the division. I think it's I would not count on the Bills winning the division. I think it's not a gimme. Obviously, they lost to them, so
I'll say
we'll see what happens.
I'll say it's a stretch to say this division's up for grabs. In my mind, the Jets are clearly the Jets.
Oh, no, not the Jets, not the Jets.
And the Dolphins.
The Dolphins could come on
apart.
strong. They could come on still. There'll be a problem if the Bills lose to the Dolphins or if the Patriots lose to the Dolphins. That's a problem. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to win the division.
I agree.
I think it's between those two up north teams. Yeah,
I agree. Are we ready to talk about
Bills? Yeah, one more. I think the Bills are just kind of holding on. I was going to ask you a question.
You go ahead.
Yeah, you can ask me.
No, you're on it. You go ahead with the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills feel like to me they're just kind of holding it together with their roster. I mean, they already went into the season expecting and hoping for Cole Bishop to make a massive jump, and they drafted him to do so. He's played good, but then there's also those big plays that you see that he gets exposed on. And that obviously overshadows the quality play he has otherwise. Matt Milano, out like Caleb said. He's re-injured. He's been injured for years, but he's re-injured twice this year. Dorian Williams, who they're going to need to come back to be able to stop the run against Bijan Robinson. And then they're throwing in Tre'Davious White off basically consecutive injuries of not having to start. Now he's their premier guy so far this year. And like Caleb said, Ed Oliver, Joey Bosa, who he knows typically hurt throughout the year. He's playing well, but we'll see. Hurt. I mean, you hate to predict injuries, but a guy that's been injured every year, you look at that. And then the receiving core is already not strong. They're having to rely on James Cook and Dalton Kincaid a lot more. It just feels like with any more injuries that you can slowly see this tower crumble. And Josh Allen's going to have to do absolutely everything.
Right.
He's Dan Marino.
He is Dan Marino. What's new? This is a reincarnation. All right. Final game, not Not one I'm going to mind falling asleep on. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders. Commanders favored at home 4.5. I think the Commanders, sadly, are capable of putting up more offense than the Bears. We've watched statistically; they've scored more points than the Bears by far. Even with a backup quarterback, the Commanders are scoring more points than the Bears. That said, the jury's still out for me on the new head coach there and Caleb Williams and those two making a love connection and making this team a winning football team. Until the Bears can show me something, which they have not, I'm taking the safe 4.5-point favored Washington Commanders at home. Josh?
I'm going to pick the Bears. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, jump in.
Picking the Bears. Coming off the bye week, they've been watching this team all week. That's all they had to do. I think Odunze and Williams are great. I think they're obviously great. They're scoring every week for some reason. Caleb Williams, not counting the past week because he was on bye, was a top 5 quarterback statistically going into the bye. I think that he's going to be fine. Washington has not been great against the run. Obviously, they have Bobby Wagner, but I think that this is a big game for Swift. I think this is a big game for DJ Moore, who finally breaks out of the slump he's been in with Ben Johnson. I think that they retooled this offense in this bye week. I don't think that they're just going to roll over for Washington. I don't think Washington is that good, as we led the whole season with in the first episode. They had a great game against the Chargers, but I think the Bears are a better team here. I think they're a better offense.
Josh?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the Bears as well. I think DJ Moore, as you mentioned, DeAndre Swift have favorable matchups in this game. I know they have a few guys injured still. TJ Edwards, Grady Jarrett, Kyler Gordon, Darnell Wright, Colson Loveland. Like, the list goes on, but the same for the Commanders. The Commanders, surprisingly, are third in sacks right now. They've had, as you saw last week, they were able to do well. But interceptions, tied for second. The Chicago Bears with the Seattle Seahawks have 7 interceptions. And they also didn't play last week. So they're in contention for that title with the Jaguars. But yeah, like you said, the Commanders are averaging just over 1.5 more per game on offense. And so Mariota came in and played well, but that is a little skewed because they played the Raiders. I think they both played the Raiders, but the Bears didn't blow them out. Raiders, Falcons, Giants. Like, the Commanders, they've had some easy games.
Sure.
And that's not to say the Bears didn't either. But the point average, I think, is beside itself for this one. The number 1 rushing team, Washington Commanders, because of their quarterback and the split big plays between Rodriguez and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. Yeah, they've been able to muster up this high rushing total every time. I think the biggest thing for them is they're just going to need Jaden Daniels to not throw the ball away, and not that he does, but just control the time of the possession like they do, be the number 1 rush team like you are, and then put pressure on Caleb Williams. Don't do anything crazy. If the Bears beat you with big plays from DJ Moore and Swift and Luther Burden, as we've seen they're capable of, then so be it. But you're going to really need a boring Bears game overall for the Commanders to win, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's any hot takes or anything before we close out, guys, that you guys want to add when you're looking at the schedule this week? I mean, I know we didn't talk about the Green Bay game. I really don't think that's necessary. I think this is especially with the Green Bay coming off a trap game where they pretty much blew it with the Browns. That's an anomaly. I just think Green Bay has had time to rest. They're extremely well coached, great personnel on that roster. I don't see Green Bay dropping it on this one. Obviously, every week matters. We joke about games, but what do you got, Kim?
I was going to add to Green Bay. I think that one player to watch, I think he breaks out after this bye week, is Matthew Golden. Tim's probably fist pumping hearing this, but Matthew Golden, his snaps, his yards, and his targets have increased every week. And coming out of the bye with an easy matchup against Cincinnati, it's a great game for him to get put in this offense and featured in this offense, which I think he is. They got him early in the draft. He is a top-tier weapon. And he's not the first look for that team. They have Romeo Doubs, who's been leading their team in touchdowns. Tucker Kraft, he's a top 5 tight end in the league. And Josh Jacobs, obviously. So a lot of room for him to get in these zones and get a lot of chunk yardage. Matthew Golden, I think he has a great game. I think going forward for fantasy and for real life football, he'll be a great weapon for this team.
What do I say? I think I started off the year saying, just as a general hot take, that DK Metcalf can lead the league in touchdowns from the wide receiver position. I'll go ahead and say against this Browns defense, sorry, we're just talking about the Bears. I said Bears, but Browns. I think he'll have 2 touchdowns against the Browns.
Nice.
So
you know,
we'll
I
see.
think a lot of things. I think Saquon will have a revenge game against the Giants. I think that's something to watch.
Unfortunately.
I think
Yeah.
Bo Nix and that machine's going to really get some ground made up against the Jets. I think the Rams and Stafford are really going to do some damage in Baltimore. I think it's time that they, they're playing a subpar defense with a lot of injuries. That defense is just falling off. I think Eberflus is starting to show his expertise as a schemer because our scheme changed noticeably. I listened to Trayvon Diggs talk about it, and Carolina is the right team to take advantage of in terms of trying to some things with that, inexperienced team. Guys, this is going to be a great week. These are the weeks that really define and change the season without a doubt. So, like you said, Caleb, the Miami's capable of winning. Darren Waller has changed this team single-handedly. He has given them a chance in literally every game with big plays. To be fair, he's been right there, and I think
He's
you
been
said
on a snap count too.
Yes, you said, Caleb, or was it you or Josh that said Tua's never had a target this big in Miami?
Oh, I think we both did, but Josh said it probably when you were watching the game.
Yeah. So, I think, I'm pleasantly surprised that the Buccaneers keep winning because, I'm rooting for Baker. I like the underdog, man. And this team's got a lot of, when Brady left, nobody thought that this team was going to do anything. And old Todd Bowles took over. And there's just a lot of, oh, well, same old Tampa Bay, wrong. And Baker's the perfect person to take over for a Tom Brady team. Who else has the moxie to go in? And he even said it, like, we're going to be fine without Tom Brady. And Tom didn't like that. They haven't won a Super Bowl, but they've been a good football team. So there's just a whole lot. I think I really wish they had flexed the Buffalo Atlanta because I think it's a blowout. And Washington Chicago is a small market team versus the Bears, which outside of our region, I don't know who really cares to watch Washington on Monday Night Football game. But other than that, I think there's some humdingers in here, guys. There's some week 6 has got some things to watch. So, all right. Well, hopefully we'll have Tim Schneider back next week. And we missed having him tonight, but hey guys, I appreciate you guys as always giving us a ton of information, things to look at. Anything we need to know fantasy, I usually say every week, and I will say it again, guys. Pay attention. Look right at me. If you have a Houston Texan or a Minnesota Viking, sit them. They're not playing. Nothing's worse than starting a fantasy roster and having guys that aren't even playing. So sit them. Anything else you guys want to add about fantasy before we close? Caleb, you mentioned already the Green Bay wide receiver, but
you mentioned Stephon Diggs.
Go ahead.
Sit him?
No, Stephon Diggs.
Start.
No. Yeah. I mean, he's in the slot. He's their lead target now. Hunter Henry is not getting targets now in the last 2 games because of him. So, and we saw Hunter Henry the first 3 weeks of the year have massive games. And now Josh McDaniels has schemed Diggs in that middle of the field role, and Diggs dominated it the last 2 weeks. So keep starting him.
Yeah, you mentioned Baltimore Ravens defense against Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, his last 2 games, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Puka Nacua, number 1 receiver in the NFL right now. But Devontae Adams in a matchup against Jair Alexander, his old teammate. One guy's washed, one guy's not. One guy is on the worst defense in the league right now. One guy is playing with a quarterback who's throwing 400 yards a game. So Devontae Adams, Matthew Stafford's also on the wire in 40% of leagues. Go ahead.
Get him.
He's free. He's gonna do it for you again. Devontae Adams gonna do it for you. We can celebrate. It's gonna happen.
We can celebrate. Well, with that, I bid you all a great fantasy week coming into week 6. As always, you guys give us a like and follow. We're available anywhere. Just hit @GuysWithoutHelmets. Guys, always a great week. Love talking football with you. We'll be back next week to recap 6 and talk about week 7.
Yes, sir.